Hello students, have you come across such questions that requires you to use words to explain? Yes, in this video, we're going to learn how to answer them correctly. So do get ready a pen and some papers and practice along with me. Let's look at the first question. A company sells tinned wood. The company displays the sales figures with this chart. Sales tripled in 10 years. The chart shows drawings of two geometrically similar solids. The dimensions of the tin for 2020 are 3 times the corresponding dimensions of the tin for 2010. The chart is misleading. Explain what it implies about the company's sales of tinned food. Now, to answer such questions, always remember that the explanation that you gave must be mathematically sound. In other words, we don't give explanation like the tin in 2020 looks bigger or does not look bigger or slightly bigger than the tin in 2010. Giving such explanation will not give you any score at all. So how do we go about explaining such questions? Yes, we have to explain it in terms of mathematical concept. And since the two things shown are cylinder, we're going to use volume to explain it. So if you were to recall the formula, L1 over L2 is equals to, that V1 over V2 is equals to L1 over L2 cube. We can see that the volume of 2020 over the volume of 2010 will gives you 3 over 1, because the 1 in 2020 is 3 times bigger, 3 over 1 to the power of 3, and that gives you 27 over 1. So therefore, the cylinder volume in 2020 is actually 27 times larger than the smaller cylinder. So that will lead people to think that the sales increased by 27 times, and it's not tripled as stated in the title. So the marker will have to see this before they can give you any marks. Right, so this is how we answer such a question. Let's look at question 2. In question 2, we are shown the annual gas bill for the last 4 years from 2012 to 2015 on the horizontal axis. And on the vertical axis, we are shown the cost of the gas, and there's only one value there, that's 1,200. We are asked to state one aspect of the graph that's misleading and explain how this may lead to a misinterpretation of the graph. Alright, if you examine the vertical axis, there's only one value given, 1,200. Therefore, the vertical axis is not well defined. And this may lead to the reader thinking that it's a linear scale. However, this is misleading because if you look at the size of the flame that you're given, the area of the flame that is shown in 2015 versus 2012 is actually 4 times bigger. However, the linear scale shown that is just twice bigger. So that caused some confusion here. So the only valid answer is the scale is not defined. Some students may explain that the vertical axis does not start from 0. So even if the vertical axis does start from 0, the scale is still not defined. Let's look at question 3. If you look at question 3, we have a graph showing the total credit card and charge card spending in Singapore. And then in 2006, 2011, and 2016. On the horizontal axis, showing the year, and on the vertical axis, showing the total spending in dollar billions. Explain how the chart above may be misleading. The vertical scale is a linear scale, but the diagram shown otherwise. The diagram shown is actually a cut. So the area, the width of the bar, it's proportional to the height. As the result, the area of the bar is bigger than the value it should represent. For example, in 2011 spending, if you were to compare the height on the vertical axis with the height in 2006, it's roughly 1.75 times. But if you're going to compare the area, if you were to recall, L1 over L2 squared gives you A1 over A2. Then the area in 2006, the area in 2011 is actually 1.75 squared times bigger. So hence the reader may think that the increase is more than 1.75 times. So in other words, the diagram, the pictures that's shown, doesn't correspond to the values that's shown on the y-axis. So that's why it's misleading. So when we explain, we need to give it explained in terms of mathematical concepts, as what is being highlighted. Let's look at the last question. In question 4, we're shown the increasing sales of some toys in one shop. On the horizontal axis, showing the month from January, February, May, June. And on the vertical axis, showing the total sales in terms of thousands of dollars. State one aspect of the graph, they may be misleading, and explain how this may lead to a misinterpretation of the graph. This one is slightly similar to, I think, question 2, where if you look at the vertical axis, it's not well defined. There's only one value there, which is 500. So misleading aspect 1, we can explain that the vertical axis has only one value and the scale is not defined. Right, so the reader may think that this is a linear scale, but the area of the scale showed otherwise. For example, the height of the sales in June is 5 times more than in January, but the area is actually 25 times bigger. We can also explain it in terms of the missing sales figure for March and April. If you look at the horizontal axis, it's only shown January, February, but there is no data for March and April. So the incomplete data may lead to the reader forming their own data to justify the increasing sales. So this question ends this video on how we can explain questions that we require us to use words and sound mathematical concepts to explain. Happy learning?